I'm Pamela Casey. I have been a Christian since 1987 when I gave my life to the Lord. I was raised in a Catholic family, not strict Catholic, but with the ideas of God being God, a judgmental, angry God, and that you had to live up to a certain standard and able to go to heaven. In 1981, I met a lady through somebody that my husband was working for, who was not my husband at the time. She was a Christian, and she started reaching out to me and mentoring me. And around that time, I was living with a married man. I was pregnant, and she started sharing with me that Jesus loved me, that he wanted me to be his child, that I was his child, but that he wanted me to spend eternity with him. And I pretty much thought she was off her rocker, knowing that when you sin against God, your destination is pretty sure. And never really understanding grace or mercy or God's love and how far it goes and how far he's willing to go to save us. I spent 5 years of God pursuing me and loving me, and throughout that time trying to make myself acceptable to God, because I very much wanted what this friend of mine had, because she had peace and assurance and the knowledge that God loved her and she'd spend eternity with him, and I wanted that. During that time, I married the father of my children, who is my husband today, Leonard, but we struggled. It did not go the way I thought it was going to go. I didn't feel like I still was acceptable to God. We ended up separating, and I started attending the First Christian Church, and just really got to the point, which apparently I am a stubborn woman, where I just knew it was hopeless, and there was no way I was ever going to make myself righteous or good enough for God's standard. And just finally got to the place during a church service where I just totally surrendered to him, finally getting the message that he wanted me for who I was, where I was, and that he was going to change my life, and he was going to make me into the person he wanted me to be. The changes in my life were radical, but with a peace and joy that I'd never had. I struggled sometimes, but I believe that's because Satan so hard tries to convince us that we're not really acceptable, that God really doesn't love us, you know, that we're just never really going to meet that standard. I know that for myself, the closer I stay with God, the better everything is, because through the trials and tribulations of my life, there have been a lot of times where I could just feel like God had abandoned me. But that's when you stand on his word, when he says, I will never leave you or forsake you, and I will never leave you alone. But I just believe with all my heart that God loves me, and that I will spend eternity with him, and I'm very thankful for the grace that he's shown me. I feel that God's telling me, if I am more willing to share who I am and the truth of who I am, that we don't need to present ourselves as having arrived or being a perfect Christian, because there are none. That God can use that even more so in my life, but also in the lives of people around me, and that is how I really want to spend the rest of my time here on the earth, is just sharing with others God's grace and mercy, and that no matter where you are or what you've done, he loves you, and he is able to deliver you and strengthen